So, good morning from Victoria, and welcome to Being Your Own CEO. This is our weekly Hangout Success Circle, I like to call it. And we get together to share ideas, provide support, make jokes, have a little fun, get to know each other a little better. So I'm happy to welcome three gentlemen. Boy, I feel all by myself this morning. There may be a couple of other people join us later. Two of our other gals that quite often join us have indicated that they're on vacation and they're not particularly interested in the topic. So usually what we do before we get started in any kind of discussion is that we give everyone an opportunity to introduce themselves and say something about their business or what they want to do. So Craig, how would you like to start this morning?
Well, hi, my name's Craig. I'm over outside of Rochester, New York. And, what I do is local marketing for small businesses in my area. I'm pretty excited right now. I'm adding to my capabilities by joining the Google Trusted Photographer program, and that's moving along quite nicely. And so I have quite a few offerings that help local businesses with their online presence, basically.
Oh, right on. So when we've finished introductions, Craig, I would love you to say a little bit more about this trusted photographer thing. I've read a little bit about it, but I'd sure like to know a whole lot more about it. So maybe you would be prepared to share that.
Sure.
Matthew, you're next in line. How would you like to introduce yourself?
Thank you, Lauren. It's a pleasure. I am a digital content marketer. My company is called Writing Impacts, and you're asking, what the heck does a digital content marketer do? Well, it's inbound or pull marketing, and essentially I love to write, so I've put my writing services and my team's writing services into employment for businesses that need to increase their digital, they need to be there on the digital arena. So we do everything from blogs, we manage social media strategy, and I do a lot of SEO work now, which helps people to increase business by getting audiences to know more about them and get them to rank better on Google, for instance. I'm also doing emails, so content relations management, email, e-blasts, and so forth. And I'm having a heck of a lot of fun at it. There's some great clients that I have, and carving a life for myself and my family.
Right on. Nice to have you. I think this is your first Hangout with us, isn't it, Matthew?
My second, actually.
Is
my
it?
second Hangout.
It's a long, long time ago.
Yeah, it was like 4 months ago. Been a while.
Well, welcome back.
Thank you. Thank you. It's good to be back.
Yeah. And Nathan, how about you this morning? And in the green room, we talked about Nathan's adventure and traveling and so forth. But maybe you'd like to talk about what you do.
Well, I mean, my main thing for the last number of years has been writing, much like Matthew, but in a different context. Mostly how-to writing. I show people how to do things, and I've been writing primarily for computer and photography magazines all over the world. So I've been doing that for a long time. At the exact moment, not sure, but it will unfold. So
it will unfold.
It's definitely been unfolding. Not in a way that I ever imagined, but here I am, and I never imagined to be back in Canada, but here I am. Oh, and by the way, I'm currently in Coquitlam for anybody who's curious, because I've been all over the place. And a few weeks ago I was on the Baja, but now I'm in Coquitlam. So.
Right on.
Well, you chose a good time to come back to paradise. I mean, it is beautiful here now.
Probably going to be here for the summer from the look of it.
All right. Okay. Well, welcome back, Nathan.
Thank you very much.
Right.
Needs to be in the fold again.
Yeah. So I might like to introduce what I do. I do work style lifestyle coaching specifically for solo entrepreneurs, and I like to help people get focused, stay motivated, build systems that are going to move their business forward. And I host this weekly hangout, and I have just formulated or put together the Being Your Own CEO community, and I've been posting some things there, and I invite you all to join the community and do the same. And I also have a course where I teach beginners Google for Business. And I just suddenly realized that I neglected to invite somebody, so I'm going to stop and do that now. So would somebody else like to say something about our topic this morning? Anybody?
Yeah, well, I read a interesting article. We've got an echo there. I read an interesting article about how internet or security for mobile devices is much more of an issue than you really thought.
Yeah, and that's exactly the reason I thought it would be a good idea for us to stop and think about this for a bit. As I was explaining to Craig before you folks came on, I attended the social media camp here in Victoria back in May, I guess it was, and there was a workshop about mobile security put on by a local policeman who takes care of online criminal issues and so forth. So as I listened to what he had to say, I suddenly realized that there were a number of things that I had already taken care of, but there were a few things that I needed to take care of. And we did talk about this in the green room very briefly not long ago, but so some of the things that I thought I might share, some of the things that I picked up in that workshop, but also a little bit about what I picked up. I did do some online research just to see whether what you find online agrees with what I heard in the workshop. So and I guess one of the main things that popped up for me in that research was that there are people that believe if you use an Android that you shouldn't need to pay any attention to virus protection and all of that. There seem to be quite a few entries there, some old ones. I tried to sort of look at the relative dates so that I was looking at material that was recent, but there are some different opinions about that. So yeah, there were a few people that felt that it was antivirus companies that were creating all of the hype around it, and then there were other people who were saying different. So, and before we go any further, I want to welcome Larry, who just joined us. Larry, do you know everybody that's here? Larry, have you met Matthew before?
Hi, Larry.
Hi.
Do you want to say what you do?
Me?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
We caught you unaware. Sorry.
You did. So my business is Alchemy Business Consulting, and I help small businesses make their businesses profitable. And I give talks. I just gave a workshop to a group of people, including Lowell and some others, and just try to find one.
Yeah, Larry, almost everything you said, like every third word seemed to be blocked out. So I don't know if there's anything you can do and I don't know whether that was the same for everybody else or not. So I've seen somebody, Matthew's nodding, so it seems like maybe that might be the case. So I just realized that I wanted to give Craig a chance to say something about this trusted photographer thing before we get into our topic. So say something about that, Craig. Tell us a little bit about what it is and what it means and how it gets to be used.
Well, I think pretty familiar. Lolan, why don't you mute yourself? I think it's thank you. The trusted photographer is very similar to street views. I think everybody is familiar with street views, where you can navigate down the street and see what the town looks like. The trusted photographer program takes that inside businesses, so you can go in and you can actually virtually look around inside a business and get a feel for the place and decide if that's the kind of decor that you feel comfortable in. And so that the Google trusted photographers are the people that go out and take those images and create the 360-degree views inside the businesses. So you're muted.
So I said that's quite a feather in your cap to be able to do that, and it sounds like it really fits with all the other parts of your business.
It's one more feather. The more the better respond.
Yeah. I've been playing around with Periscope, and I wondered whether so the Google photography thing, would it be kind of linked to and similar to doing a Hangout on air, that kind of thing?
No, I know. Inside your Plus, or actually on the maps, it takes you in. There's one of the images says "See inside," and it actually takes you into the business, so you can virtually look around. There are little carrots on the floor, so you can click on the carrots and move around inside the business.
Well, that's that's moving things right along, isn't it? Being able to when you look at a store and deciding whether you want to go there or whatever, to be able to go in and look around and see whether it appeals to you before you bother getting in your car.
I think a lot are worried about security and things like that, but that doesn't seem to be an issue for most retailers.
Okay, so thank you for that, Craig, and that's just great for you to be able to add that to your work. So let's get back to our topic, taking care of mobile security, and I guess what I found out is that there's a little bit of skepticism out there about whether it's necessary to use virus protection on your phone or not. Certainly, from the workshop that I attended, there was a belief that you should, and that would be something that I did right away. Is I downloaded a free app that was a virus protection. And one of the things that I discovered is that there are now many different companies out there that are doing virus protection. Some of them roughly $29.99 a year. McAfee, Norton, and Lookout, and then there's a couple of free ones, Avast, and antivirus. So I think it's antivirus is the one I have on my system. So that was the first thing about antivirus, and I thought, well, at least I haven't blown any money. If I really didn't need to have antivirus, I haven't lost anything, except maybe somebody in my research said that all these extra apps just use up your bandwidth on your phone, etc. But I don't know. For me, I think I'd rather be safe than sorry. So that was one of the things that they talked about. Another program that I learned about a long time ago is called Lookout, and I've had that on my phones. I think I'm into my third smartphone now. And the reason that I went for that, and I believe, I think I do pay for that one, because it has a few features that that made me feel a whole lot more secure. One of them was, if I lost my phone, I could go to my desktop and tell the Lookout desktop program to make a really loud, awful noise. So I was thinking, well, if I lost my phone down in the back of the couch, you could go to your desktop and tell it to make a noise, and you'd find it. So that was one aspect. The other aspect about Lookout is that it will do a backup. It does a regular backup. So you've always got all your stuff backed up somewhere else that you have on your phone. But the most important piece for me there was, if my phone got stolen, that I could go to my desktop and tell Lookout to wipe the phone clean so that my data would not be stolen by somebody else. So to me, that was something really, really important. So if you lost your phone, that you could wipe it clean so if somebody found it, that all of your data would not be wouldn't be compromised. So that was a really, really important thing for me. And of course, because they do a backup, if I again found my phone or got a new phone, then I would have everything there. So to me, that was a security well worth paying for.
That's called.
Pardon me?
It's called bricking your phone. You basically turn brick.
Yeah. So that was something that I mean that just seemed to make a whole lot of sense to me. So another aspect that wasn't necessarily discussed at well, it was discussed, but this program wasn't, and that was to make sure that you do not use the same password for everything that you use. We all know that about our desktops, but the same is true on your phone. So I use a program called LastPass that will work on your desktop. If once you have it, it's on all of your devices, whether it's a smartphone or a tablet or whatever. And that way you've got all your passwords encrypted. So that was a really important one for me as well. Although LastPass got hacked a couple of weeks ago, and there was a big message went out to everybody: change your master password. Nobody got in and got the passwords because they're triple encrypted. But you might want to change your master password that allows you to get in. So that's another piece of security that I think is really, really important. And the other thing that they said in the workshop was to be sure to password protect entrance to your phone. So you can most phones have 2 or 3 choices that you can make. One of them is to type in a password. Another one is to create a pattern and just be able to follow the pattern. The newer ones, my new phone has it reads your thumbprint. So you just put your thumb up, and it opens up your phone. So that's quite a nice little enhancement of the newer phones. So that was another piece that was suggested, that it's inconvenient because every time your phone goes to sleep, you have to do something. But it was suggested that you really do need to do that. And the last piece that I want to talk about is probably the most important that they suggested. And that was that when you're out and about and using free Wi-Fi, let's say that you're in an airport or you're in a coffee shop downtown, those open Wi-Fi places, they said that's where you are the most vulnerable. That there are people that can hack into those open sessions, and if you're, let's say you're in a coffee shop and you go and visit your bank, they're going to get that information. So there are a number of programs that are designed to encrypt what goes on your phone, so that when you're out using a public free Wi-Fi, that the stuff is encrypted. And the policeman suggested that that was probably the most important thing you should do. So I did a bunch of research. There's one that's called private Wi-Fi, but it's not cheap. It's $10 a month. I found another one that was half that price and tried it. But all of these will give you a free trial, so it's a good idea to use a free trial just to see whether it works with your equipment, because the one I found that was half the price did not work on my systems. I won't go into all the details about what it did because I don't think it's necessary, but it just didn't work. So I've gone back to private Wi-Fi because I am out and about a lot. And I use the Shaw Open here, and so that's one that's really, really important to pay attention to. If you are using an open Wi-Fi, free Wi-Fi, do not visit your bank. Do not do anything that is going to compromise your privacy. So that was an important piece. The last one, and Nathan, you and I talked about this one before, just very briefly, was when you're downloading these apps, sometimes some of these free apps have some malware included in them. And the one that Nathan mentioned was the flashlight. And after we spoke about that, I did my due diligence and got rid of 2 of them that I had on my system and found another one. And so some more of my research told me that to be careful about if you are downloading an app for your phone, to be careful where you get it from. So apparently Google Play now, or the Google Play Store, Google does now look at all of their applications, and so that most of them are pretty safe now. But from my reading, it said to be careful not to go to third-party places to download free apps for your phone, because quite often they have some malware included in them. So you need to be really, really careful. And the other thing to pay attention to is when you are downloading an app, to look at what that app wants access to, and decide, does it make any sense? So sometimes it does make sense if they want to have access, like your social networking apps. It makes sense for them to have access to your contacts. But then there are other apps that it makes no sense for them to have access. So to stop and look at what they want access to. So that's my bit on security in a nutshell. So I wondered if anybody else had any comments or ideas or experiences that they might like to share. And there's Nathan with his hand up. So go ahead, Nathan.
Yeah, it's really interesting that we're talking about this. One of the things that happened, not so much to do with the LastPass thing, but I wound up watching an interview with Edward Snowden, and he was talking about the importance of using a different type of password. The LastPass gives you the option of creating these really complicated passwords, but they're impossible to remember, and apparently even those really supposedly great passwords can be cracked fairly easily. And what he suggested is using a different type of password, like a combination of phrases. And in this article on Snowden, you guys will have to search for it. I can't remember where I found it. But he was being interviewed by this guy to do with these passwords. What he came up with, the example that he used, and you guys are going to laugh when you hear this, but it was a phrase, and there were certain parts of the phrase that were bolded. So it would be like using phrases that you can easily remember that would not be easily found in a hacker dictionary. So the example that he gave was, Margaret Thatcher is 100% sexy. And the 100%, yeah, exactly. So the 100% sexy is bolded. So he suggested coming up with passwords like that that are easy for you to remember, but they're not necessarily a common phrase, and to create your password that way.
But the problem with that is, you, at least from what I've picked up, is it's important to not use the same password for everything.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. So you would have to come up, and I mean, when I look at what's in my LastPass, there's at least 75 passwords in there, because I'm on the internet a lot.
I'm talking about your MasterPass.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Okay, so that makes sense to use something like that, something of a phrase. Another example I saw was, and I've used this too, where you pull out a book that has a really good index in it, or at least the chapter headings, and just you take the first letter of each word in a chapter heading.
Yeah, that's part of the too, in combination with password phrase.
Yeah, so it's I mean, there are lots of ways to do some things like that, but I can't tell you the number of people I know that use the very same password for everything they do. Really bad news. Yeah, Matthew, you've got your hand waving there. Go ahead.
Yeah, I just want to add to the conversation. Do you guys hear me okay?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So I have probably around 200 passwords because I'm on the internet a lot. And mobile device and open source Wi-Fi was, I guess, a bit of an issue for me because I spend a lot of time in coffee shops. And obviously they're all open networks. So I finally found this article. Someone sent it to me, written by a fellow from the Netherlands, about how easy it is for this hacker. And they wrote an article about what this hacker was doing and the equipment he was using, how simple it was for him to start cracking into people's personal lives through accessing their wireless devices. And it completely blew my mind. Actually, it's an interesting article. If you haven't read it, if there's a way I can share it through Google Hangouts, you can tell me afterwards, Loalan, but I think it's worth reading. It's very interesting. Might be information a lot of you know, but for me it was a bit of a revelation. So this is timely. Thank you, Loalan.
That would be really great if you would share that. And if you go to the inside the community, that would be a great place to put it, because then it would share it with everybody else that belongs to the community. So yeah, so that would yeah. I mean, on one level, I get really upset with a lot of stuff that I hear on the radio. For example, I listen to the radio a lot, and I get upset because, you know, there will be a report of some horrendous, awful thing that happened to somebody and like sometimes they'll say what you can do, but you know, in such technical terms. And I think that's part of the reason that there's a great deal of fear out there. And I mean, I guess most of us that are here in this situation, we're all on the internet a lot, and so therefore we've learned to take care of ourselves, or at least I would hope that we have anyway. But yeah. So that's one of the things that I get really bent out of shape about. So Larry, what about you? What do you use an iPhone or an Android, and what's your experience of you know, security on your phone?
Oh, I have an Android phone, and I'm somewhat lax on security. I guess I look more at safety in numbers, that there's so many phones out there that the likelihood that I'm going to get hacked is relatively low. Obviously, if it happens, then I'm screwed, but there's a lot of fear-mongering out in the world and a lot of worry about things. The news media takes something, I'm not necessarily trying to minimize this because it is an issue, but there's a lot of things that the media does blow out of proportion, and people get afraid of it. You know, just raising my son, I couldn't let him walk alone to school because I would be labeled as a horrible parent, whereas I used to walk a mile to school every day. And you know, there's probably no safer place in the world than there is here in Victoria, BC. Yet parents are afraid. So I'm not going to sit there and be afraid and worry about stuff that I don't have control over. You know, and if I had that much money that I was worried about people stealing it, I guess they're welcome to it. So, you know, that's. But I'm just not going to live a life of fear. I will take some precautions, but I'm not. You know, I find that the conveniences that I achieve by not worrying about that stuff overwhelms the need for protecting everything, like I'm guarding the secret cave of Sinbad or something, or Aladdin.
It's a good balance, Larry. Thank you very much. Oh dear. What about you, Craig? How do you pay attention to security on your phone?
Well, the way that I handle security on my phone is I have one that's so old that the hackers don't have the technology anymore. Yeah, I belong to a search and rescue team, and so I'm constantly in the field. It seemed like a really good thing to get a ruggedized phone, and in several cases on searches, it's poured several inches of rain while we've been searching, and so having a waterproof phone has been a lifesaver in more ways than one. But the operating system is old. What I found was that when I go into a public Wi-Fi area, I have a feature from my carrier that allows me to create a private Wi-Fi network. It uses a lot of bandwidth on my phone, but it creates its own little bubble, and so I can actually connect to the Wi-Fi on my phone from my computer and do whatever I need to with that connection. And you know, I try and keep it to a minimum. But if I'm presenting something to a client or something, then I have a Wi-Fi connection always available to me that I can use with my computer, and it comes through my phone and creates a private Wi-Fi network. So even in coffee shops, I'm not on their Wi-Fi, so that isolates me from the rest of the world and makes it, you know, it's encrypted at a different level than a public Wi-Fi would be. So that's how I handle it.
I have to remember keep remembering to unmute myself. I don't know, the system, the Hangout system seems to have a lot more echo, natural echo in it these days. I've noticed that just in the last, I don't know, month or two, months. So what else in terms of taking care of security without increasing the level of inconvenience that we don't want to, we don't want to use the darn thing anymore. There is a delicate balance there, isn't there? For sure. There was one last thing that I realized that I forgot to mention, and that came up over and over in my research, and that was to pay great attention to and to allow all of the updates that need to happen. So you know, those updates are various companies, the various apps that do, you know, that's their way of blocking little compromises that have happened. So it is really, really important. That's true on your desktop as well, is to make sure that you are taking care of all of those updates. And what was it? Another one. There was one last thing that I found. I must admit I haven't tried it yet, but I would throw it out there just for information for people. So if you hear somebody talking about this wonderful app for your phone, there is a place where you can go to research whether it's, you know, what it is. And it's called Bitdefender. 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 So that's another thing to do. Like somebody tells you about this wonderful thing that you're not sure, then it's a good idea to do the research first. Do your homework. So unless anybody has anything that they would like to add to the topic, I think it's kind of time to wrap up, and we'll stay in the green room to have further looser conversation if we wish. So any last comment about security before we close? Anybody? I don't see any hands waving. Everybody is muted right now. So it's now time to wrap up today's conversation with a reminder to please join the Being Your Own CEO community. You'll find lots of resources and great conversations happening there. And be sure to contribute what you're up to, what you're doing. If YouTube is your pleasure, you can also subscribe to my YouTube channel. So this is Lola Ann signing off for this week.